Hello there, namaste. So I just finished watching the movie Goatlife. This is a powerful movie, and I gotta say, I had trouble watching. I did watch along. I'm gonna see if I can edit it and get it out. But the first part is the toughest for me because these people they get kidnapped and forced into labor, and I realized at the end that the word sponsor, they're being sponsored, that's basically taking the word for slave master. That's taking the word for master. That's taking the word, because it's nothing but slavery. It literally is slavery. You are sponsored to work for these people, and what happens? You end up trapped, imprisoned, whipped, because if you don't do your job. No money goes to your families because they can easily claim, oh, you cost this much for living expensive. Your food costs this much. Your food, your everything costs this much. Oh, you caused us this much damage, so we're taking it out of your pay. And then nothing ends up going to your family. It is nothing more than slave labor. And I was struggling going through it because the very end is when they kind of introduced that, oh, your sponsor. And the fact that he was basically kidnapped. It wasn't his real sponsor. But yeah, it's one of those things because it was difficult. In the beginning, I was like, oh, no. Because not everyone is like that. Everyone of that persuasion, of that belief, of that place in the world. That's the thing I was having issue with at the very beginning of the film, because the problem is it's all done in isolation. They are kidnapped and put in the middle of a desert, surrounded by people who think, by small-minded people who think exactly the same, where their belief is superior. Anyone else from anywhere else in the world who doesn't think the same way or talk the same way is beneath them. And it was aggravating because it's like, I knew people growing up who had a belief similar. I'm not going to say it's exact because there's no way, when it comes to extremism, there's no way it is the same belief. Like whether you talk to a Christian who's an extremist, they're not a Christian. A Mormon who's an extremist, they're not a Mormon. A Muslim who's an extremist, they're not a Muslim. It just, there are those things, even though they still try to talk the same talk, walk the same walk, they're not the same. They're clearly not the same. They put a bad taste in everyone's mouth, and that's the thing I was having issues with in the beginning, because it was like, no, it's not the same thing, because it tries to paint them all with the same brush, and I'm just like, nope. It's making me uncomfortable watching this, and it's giving me these thoughts, so I was just complaining for my own sake. I'm like, no, this happens all around the world. All this stuff is the same. And it's just like, because that is the case. And I loved how it ended. It's just like every person's, every live's experience is just a story to us. And it's like, yeah. It is. I go into depth with it, my own experiences at the end of the watch along, but it's just like, it was fascinating to go through and see it and be just horrified. Like, I love how they don't show us the timestamp. They don't show us the timestamp. We just see it in his face, in the way his facial hair grows, in the way his body gets destroyed. All this stuff, we see it through the main character. We see everything he's going through, because I was constantly asking, how much time has passed? How much time has passed? How much time has passed? Because I don't know. But imagine being the person in that situation, not knowing. Oh. But that's the thing. It was like, this kind of stuff happens all around the world. I've said it multiple times while doing the watch along, because you don't want to just assume that one place is terrible. No, this happens in the world. Whether it's here in the USA, whether it's in Russia, whether it's in Mexico, no matter where it is in the world, this stuff happens. One place doesn't make it worse. I'm sure it happens more in some places than in others, where it's at least reported more. But it's just absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy, because the very end was like one of the hardest parts to see. They're all the people who have escaped their imprisonment, basically. They all escaped their imprisonment. They go to a police station. They are lined up in the police station for their sponsors, their masters, to come back and claim them. Because it was nothing but slavery. A sponsorship, it was called. No, it's slavery through and through. But that's the thing, like I've always claimed, that slavery still exists. It always has, and let's be honest, it always will. That's never disappearing. It's never disappearing, because there will always be people who believe that they're superior and believe that they're entitled to more, or believe that everyone's less than them. All you have to do is convince the people. I mean, heck, that's what World War II. The Nazi Party believed themselves to be above everyone else, that they had no qualms taking human beings and experimenting them, doing absolute atrocities to the bodies, the humans, because they didn't view them as such. That's the thing. It's a fine line between, yeah. I just gotta say, this is a great movie. It's oh, it was a tough watch. It was a tough watch because it just I had issues with it. Because it's just like, no, not everyone's like this. Not everyone's like this. Not everyone's like this. Because it just corners you in that place. But imagine being in that situation. If I was forced in that situation, if I was surrounded by people who were so small-minded that they thought they were above it all, it would make you think that everyone who of that same persuasion was of the same mind. It is aggravating. That's why I liked when they introduced Ibrahim. I liked him as a character. I think Ibrahim knew he had no chance of escape. I think he knew it. I think he knew there was no opportunity for him. Yeah, I liked Ibrahim. He was by far like one of the best characters because he was just such a good guy. He was like the counterbalance to all the evil, all the extremism there was. He was the one who still believed, yet knew everyone had value. I was like, I like him. Because it was funny. I was doing the watch along and I was talking about how my friend Ibrahim from college, and then what happens? Then like the next time in part 2 when I started watching it, continuing it, it was, they had Ibrahim. They introduced Ibrahim and I'm like, oh, that's cool. I was talking about him and now they show an Ibrahim. Yeah, still one of the best characters. I like how it was done. The fact that they had a disclaimer at the beginning, like, oh, we took some liberties in, I'm sure there are worse situations, absolute worse things. Maybe the liberties they took were to make it seem like it wasn't as bad as it really was. Because, let's face it, for people who believe that they're above other humans and don't view other humans as human, they're willing to do a ton. I mean, just again, look at the Nazi Party and what they did to people that they didn't think of them as human beings, thought of them as less than them. It's a toxic thing. The extreme kind of mindset. You always want to avoid that kind of thought. The problem is everyone has tendencies like that where they think they're superior to someone else. They think they're better to someone else. I've received comments like that. I know I've said things which have come across that way. It is difficult. It is absolutely difficult as human beings to not want to compete and be on top and be better than, because we're a competitive species. We just are. We're still mammals in the end. We want to be the ones on top. But this is a great film. This was a great, powerful film. Absolutely slow, but it was worth it every minute. You see his transition. You see the struggles he's going through. You see how he finds out that he's seen as absolutely nothing. What happens to Hindi? That's the thing. They introduce Hindi, and the fact that they're talking to him is just like, oh, go talk to Hindi. You guys are from the same place. You guys should understand each other. No. India is a vast place with a multitude of languages. Like, heck, maybe you can get an American and shove them in the same place, but depending on where you're grabbing them from, maybe they won't understand. Because, heck, Hispanics don't speak a lot of English here. A lot of people don't. They just get in communities with each other and just stay in that area. Nobody tends to speak the same language everywhere. When you get in a community, you just stick around that community, learn that language of that community, and stay in that community. Just how it is, and that's worldwide. But the fact that they were like, oh, you guys speak the same, follow him, he'll teach you. And I was confused, like, what happened to Hindi? What happened to Hindi? What happened to Hindi? And then they showed us, and I was like, I loved how they showed us, even though, because it just showed you how little they thought of them. How little they thought of them. It's a great movie. Absolutely phenomenally well done movie. Well acted. The way he was in the beginning to the way he looked at the end, completely night and day, completely different. Well done. Good movie. True story. I don't like saying, but impactful movie. Very impactful. All right. Thank you all for watching. Talk to you next time. Doodles.